You ever see a driver so clueless you just stare like, how did you even pass your test? Well, buckle up, because these 33 stories prove one thing. Common sense takes more hits than airbags. Every time you think you've seen the dumbest move on the road, someone out there says, "Hold my coffee." So buckle up, hit that like button, and pray the people in these stories don't live anywhere near you. Because if common sense had headlights, these folks were driving in the dark. Number 1. This guy in Washington went to the DMV to renew his driver's license. A boring errand we all hate. He parks right out front, engine running, looking for a spot. But instead of pressing the brake, his foot slips straight to the gas. Boom! He launches through the glass doors of the DMV like he's entering a stunt show. Papers flying, chairs flipping, people diving for cover. And there he is, sitting in his car surrounded by broken glass, realizing he just crashed into the place that decides if you're safe to drive. The officer on scene looked at him like, "Buddy, you failed the test before you even took it." No one got hurt, just his pride and the building's front wall. They said it took 3 months to repair. But honestly, his embarrassment probably lasted longer. Number 2. It happened in Nebraska. A man rolled up to his favorite pizza drive-thru, stomach growling, craving that pepperoni. He eased forward in line, reached for his wallet, and, whoops, hit the gas instead of the brake. The car shot forward like a rocket, smashed through the front window, and ended halfway inside the restaurant. Glass everywhere, pizza boxes flying, employees frozen mid-pep talk. The best part? The guy calmly looked at the stunned cashier and said, "Can I still get that large combo?" Workers said he seemed more upset about his food getting cold than the building being destroyed. The car was towed, the shop closed for a week, but hey, at least he didn't leave without his order. Number 3. A trucker in Pennsylvania decided to grab a snack while driving. Just a harmless apple to keep him awake on a long haul. Halfway through a bite, he choked, couldn't breathe, eyes wide, gas pedal pinned. He blacked out and his semi-truck veered off the highway, slammed through a guardrail, and smashed into a concrete barrier. The impact was so violent, it shot the apple back out of his throat. The man woke up coughing, alive, surrounded by twisted metal and shattered glass. First words to the paramedics? "Guess that's one way to do the Heimlich." The truck was totaled. The apple was history, but the story, legendary. He told reporters he switched to apple juice after that. Number 4. Somewhere in Texas, a woman stole a pickup truck and took off down the highway, sirens wailing behind her. She was weaving through cars like a maniac, police trying to box her in. Instead of pulling over, she cranked the wheel, lost control, and plowed straight through a fence, right into a parking lot full of squad cars. And confused but determined, she kept going, until her front bumper hit the big glass doors of a building labeled Police Station. She literally crashed into the headquarters of the people chasing her. Officers didn't even have to cuff her. She was already home. When they asked why she didn't stop, she said, "I was looking for somewhere safe." Yeah, she found it. Kind of. Number 5. Now this one's wild. In a small town post office parking lot, a woman's car was packed, and I mean packed, with trash. Fast food bags, soda bottles, stacks of old mail. You couldn't see the floorboards. She hops in, backs out, and the mountain of garbage shifts forward, jamming the gas pedal. The car leaps backward like it's possessed, slams into 2 parked vehicles, and keeps pushing until a light pole stops her. Police showed up and could barely open the door because of all the junk inside. When they asked what happened, she said, "I think my soda bottles attacked me." No injuries, just a bruised ego and a new nickname around town: the mobile landfill. Some people have road rage. She had road waste. Number 6. You know how they say lightning doesn't strike twice? Well, Mary from Illinois proved that cars apparently do. In 1 week, she managed to drive into 2 different buildings. First, she accidentally plowed through the glass front of a Dunkin' Donuts. She told police her foot slipped off the brake when she saw the hot coffee sign. Okay, fine. Accidents happen. But the next day, she hit the gas instead of the brake again and crashed through the front window of an eye care clinic just 1 block away. Same car, same driver, same confused expression. Locals started calling her Crash and Coffee. One officer said, "At this rate, she'll have a frequent flyer card for tow trucks." At least she picked convenient places. Caffeine first, then eye check. Number 7. In New Jersey, a 13-year-old kid decided he was ready for the open road. He snagged his mom's car keys while she was cooking dinner and snuck out like a little fast and furious star. At first, things went great. Engine roaring, windows down, freedom. Then he glanced over and saw his actual mom driving next to him in the next lane. She screamed. He panicked. The steering wheel jerked. The car jumped the curb and slammed into a light pole, airbags popping like confetti. When police showed up, his mom was still yelling, "I told you you're not ready!" The kid walked away with no injuries, except the lifetime of embarrassment every time his family brings it up at dinner. He wanted to feel grown up. Now he's grounded till retirement. Number 8. Georgia, 2013. A dad parks his truck in the driveway, leaves the engine running, and runs inside. Just for a minute. Big mistake. His 2-year-old son, curious and fearless, climbs up into the driver's seat. Tiny hands grab the shifter. Click. Truck slides into reverse. Before anyone can react, it rolls across the street, through a yard, and into the neighbor's house. No one was hurt, but the family's living room had a brand new window, shaped exactly like a Ford grill. The dad said, "Guess my kid's driving earlier than I expected." The police officer on scene just sighed and said, "At least he didn't parallel park." Lesson learned. When your toddler's tall enough to reach the gear stick, hide the keys. Number 9. Santa Monica, California. One of the scariest crashes ever caused by pure confusion. An 86-year-old man accidentally hit the gas instead of the brake at a blocked-off farmer's market. He drove through barricades straight down the crowded street for almost 3 blocks. By the time the car stopped, 10 people had died and 70 were injured. Witnesses said he looked terrified the whole time. He just didn't know how to stop. That crash changed laws about elderly driving tests in several states. It's a tragic reminder that one wrong pedal can turn an everyday drive into a disaster. And sometimes the most dangerous thing on the road isn't speed, it's panic. Number 10. Massachusetts, 1969. Senator Ted Kennedy drives a black Oldsmobile across a narrow bridge late at night. Somehow, he misses the turn. The car goes off the edge and plunges upside down into a dark tidal pond. He escapes through the window, but his passenger, Mary Jo Kopechny, doesn't make it out. The car is found the next morning submerged, and the story explodes across the nation. People questioned everything: how it happened, why it wasn't reported right away, and what he was doing there in the first place. The Chappaquiddick incident became one of America's most infamous crashes. Part accident, part mystery, part scandal. Even decades later, it's still the crash that haunted his career forever. Number 11. A guy named Carl was testing out his new car's cruise control on a long, empty highway. He thought it worked like autopilot. He set it at 70, leaned back, and started unwrapping a sandwich. For about 30 seconds, he felt like a genius. Then his self-driving car drifted off the road and launched into a cornfield like a low-budget action scene. The car was fine. The sandwich survived. His pride? Totaled. He told cops, "I thought it would steer itself." They just shook their heads. "Sir, that's not a Tesla, that's a Toyota." Number 12. A woman in Louisiana saw a road closed sign, but she was in a hurry and figured, "They always exaggerate." She weaved around the orange cones and drove right into a construction pit full of mud and half-finished concrete. Her car sank nose first, headlights barely showing. When rescue crews pulled her out, she said, "Well, the sign didn't say why it was closed." Ma'am, now you know. Next time, when the road says no, maybe listen. It means it. Number 13. There's a guy who learned the hard way that multitasking and driving don't mix. He was reversing out of his driveway at sunset, phone on speaker, one hand holding a cup of coffee. A loud thump stopped him cold. He jumped out and realized he'd reversed into his own mailbox, the same one he'd bragged about installing perfectly straight. The neighbor saw the whole thing and yelled, "Guess it's not straight anymore!" He spent the evening trying to hammer it back upright, still holding that same cup of cold coffee like a trophy of shame. Number 14. A teenager in Florida tried to impress his friends by drifting in an empty parking lot. He revved the engine, cranked the wheel, and actually pulled off the first drift. Problem? His empty lot had one obstacle: a row of metal shopping carts. He spun into them, one flew over the hood, and they all fell like dominoes. His friends caught the whole thing on video, posted it, and it went viral with the title, "Fast and the Foolish." The teen later told cops, "I was just practicing." They replied, "You're about to practice walking for a while." Number 15. A man sneezed while driving. That's it, just one sneeze. But that single achoo changed his entire morning. He was on a straight stretch of highway when it hit. Both eyes slammed shut, and he swerved right into a parked utility truck. Airbags popped, coffee exploded, and he sat there stunned, still holding a tissue. The officer said, "Sir, what happened?" He sniffled and said, "Allergies." Moral of the story? Never underestimate a powerful sneeze. It's the only time your body temporarily forgets you're driving a 2-ton machine. Number 16. Picture this: a guy cruising down the highway in his brand new convertible, feeling like a movie star. He's got music blasting, hair flying, sunglasses on, and that "nothing can stop me" smile. Then he decides to show off, tosses his car keys into the air and catches them like he's in a commercial. Except he misses. The keys bounce off the dashboard and drop straight down a storm drain at the next stoplight. Traffic's honking, he's crawling under his car trying to see the hole, realizing he's just locked himself out in the middle of the street. Took him 3 hours and a city worker with a grabber stick to get them back. Cool move? Not anymore. Now he's just known as Key Toss Kenny. Number 17. A woman in California decided to check traffic behind her using her phone's selfie camera. Not the mirror, not the rear window, the front-facing camera. She looked so long at herself that she didn't notice the car in front of her had stopped. She rear-ended him at a red light. Gentle hit, but enough to pop both bumpers. The funniest part? The guy she hit was also filming himself singing for TikTok. So their accident ended up on 2 phones, 2 accounts, and 1 compilation titled "When Influencers Collide." Both went viral, but for all the wrong reasons. Number 18. A guy was late for work, suit half-buttoned, tie crooked, razor still in his hand. He figured, "I'll just shave in traffic." So he's on the highway, mirror tilted, lather on his face, multitasking like a maniac. Then he sneezed, because of course he did, and the razor flew out of his hand, landing between the pedals. He looked down to grab it and swerved into a trash bin on the side of the road. When the cop showed up, foam still on his face, the officer said, "You missed a spot and a lane." Moral: shave at home, not in motion. Number 19. Somewhere in Kansas, a driver tried to pass a slow-moving tractor on a narrow bridge. He floored it, confident he could make it. Problem is, the tractor was hauling hay bales stacked sky-high. He clipped the trailer, ripped off his roof, and ended up sitting there, covered in hay, convertible by accident. The farmer walked over and said, "Son, I told you not to rush harvest season." The driver didn't answer, probably because he was too busy picking straw out of his teeth. Number 20. A guy once wanted to test if his car alarm was loud enough to scare thieves. So he locked himself inside the car and pressed the button. It worked, way too well. The alarm screamed non-stop while he scrambled to shut it off, but he'd left his phone and remote outside. Neighbors came running, cops showed up, and there he was, trapped, sweating, and begging through the window for someone to unlock his own car. When they finally opened it, an officer said, Well, good news, no one's stealing it now. Bad news, everyone in the neighborhood knows who the genius is. Number 21. A teenager borrowed his dad's car one night, trying to prove he could drift like the pros. He found an empty gravel lot, cranked the wheel, and gunned it. For a moment, it actually looked smooth, tires squealing, dust flying, until he realized that the lot wasn't flat. He hit a hidden ditch, launched the car like a low-budget stunt movie, and landed nose first in the mud. The airbags blew, mud splattered everywhere, and the car looked like it had survived a war. His dad showed up, looked at the scene, and said, "You wanted to drift? Looks like you drifted right out of my trust." Number 22. A delivery driver followed his GPS so faithfully, you'd think it was a religion. He was hauling a van full of furniture when the GPS told him to continue straight. He did. Right past a road closed sign and onto a stretch of freshly poured cement. By the time he realized what he'd done, the van was sinking in a perfectly smooth gray sea. Workers came running, waving their arms, shouting, "Stop! You're paving yourself in!" The van had to be pulled out by a crane, leaving behind a perfect fossil print of 4 tires and one bad decision. Number 23. A woman in Chicago looked at her dashboard and saw the fuel gauge needle sitting on E. But she told herself, E stands for enough. She kept driving, even as the warning light blinked like a disco ball. 2 blocks later, the car sputtered, coughed, and died, right in front of a gas station. She coasted into the parking lot so slowly, it looked like a sad movie scene. When the attendant came out to help, she said proudly, "See, I made it." Technically true, but it still took her 15 minutes to walk inside and admit defeat. Number 24. There was a guy whose car overheated one summer afternoon. Steam started hissing from under the hood, so he pulled over and decided to cool it down. He grabbed a water bottle, popped the hood, and dumped it straight on the metal. The water hit the boiling engine, flashed into steam, and exploded back into his face. He jumped back screaming, thinking his car was about to blow. Luckily, it didn't, but his eyebrows didn't survive the science experiment. When the mechanic arrived, he said, "Next time, let it chill, not grill." Number 25. One man had a broken window but didn't want to pay for repairs. So he taped a piece of cardboard over the hole and called it temporary. It was fine for a day until he hit the highway. The wind ripped that cardboard off like a kite, sent it flying into another car, and rained duct tape pieces all over the road. He pulled over, red-faced, pretending it wasn't his. Police stopped him anyway and asked, "Sir, where's your window?" He sighed and said, "Probably halfway to Oklahoma by now." Number 26. One woman in Colorado was driving with her golden retriever in the passenger seat. Adorable, right? Until the dog decided he wanted to help. Halfway through the drive, he climbed into her lap, tail wagging, tongue out, and one paw right on the horn. She panicked, let go of the wheel, and screamed while the horn blared non-stop. The car drifted onto the shoulder and bumped a stop sign. Minor damage, maximum embarrassment. When the cop arrived, the dog was still sitting proudly in the driver's seat. The officer just laughed and said, "Ma'am, looks like he's a better driver than most." Number 27. Fast food can make people do strange things. A man in Ohio dropped a single French fry between the seats while driving. He hit the brakes hard, trying to save it, and 5 cars behind him learned the hard way that it wasn't worth it. A full traffic jam over one fry. He stepped out of his car, holding it like treasure, saying, "I got it!" The cop just pointed to the smashed bumpers and said, "Congrats! That's a $10 fry now!" Number 28. Some guy in Florida thought he could outsmart a red light camera. Right before crossing, he leaned out his window and covered his license plate with his hand. The flash went off anyway, perfectly catching his face, mid-squint, mid-lean, finger in the air. The ticket photo was priceless, him doing the crime and posing for it. When he showed up in court, the judge held up the photo and said, "Sir, this is your hand, correct?" He said, "It was, Until this morning. Number 29. It started as a simple grocery run in Michigan. A woman loaded her bags into the trunk, pushed her empty cart away, and watched it roll, slowly toward her shiny blue SUV. At first, she thought, "It'll stop." It didn't. The cart picked up speed like it had a personal vendetta. She sprinted after it, shouting, "No, no, no!" While people in the parking lot looked on like it was the 100-meter finals, she actually caught it mid-roll. But momentum's a beast. The cart smacked into her bumper. She tripped and face-planted right onto the hood of her own car. The cart? Fine. The bumper? Dented. Her dignity? Gone. A bystander clapped slowly and said, "Nice catch, champ." She got back up, dusted herself off, and said, "I'm never shopping on a hill again." Number 30. Down in Texas, there was this guy who was nervous about driving on the highway. So, naturally, he decided to make everyone else nervous too. He drove 45 miles per hour with his hazard lights blinking the entire way. When an officer finally pulled him over, the man looked genuinely confused. "Sir," the cop said, "why are your hazards on?" The guy shrugged. "Just want everyone to know I'm nervous." The officer laughed so hard he couldn't even give him a ticket. He just said, "Look, buddy, that's not a warning system for anxiety." From that day on, the man told friends, "I've got my own safety setting, panic mode." At least he was honest about it. Number 31. Somewhere in Oregon, a guy decided to save money by washing his car at home. He ran out of car soap, looked under the sink, and found a big green bottle of dish detergent. "Soap, soap," he said, and went to town. He scrubbed every inch, dried it off, and admired that fresh sparkle. Next morning, rainstorm. The moment raindrops hit, the driveway exploded with bubbles, foamy rivers sliding down the street. Neighbors peeked out like, "Is someone washing elephants out there?" By noon, the car was squeaky, the paint was dull, and the road smelled like lemon. When he took it to the shop, the mechanic said, "You just stripped all your wax." The guy sighed. "So what do I do now?" Mechanic smiled. "Maybe stick to doing dishes." Number 32. It was early morning in Wisconsin. Quiet street, hot coffee, birds chirping. A woman got into her car, reversed slowly, and thunk. She froze, looked in the mirror. Nothing. Got out, walked around, and there it was. Her own mailbox, lying flat like it had been mugged. Her husband came running out, half laughing, half shocked. "Didn't I move that thing yesterday?" he said. She glared at him. "Well, apparently not far enough." They reviewed the home security footage later, and it showed her doing it, clear as day. She sat on the couch, red-faced, watching herself reverse into it 3 times in a row. Her husband made it their family's new favorite video. Now, every time she leaves the driveway, he yells, "Mailbox check!" Number 33. And, finally, the grand finale. Because only in America would this happen. A man in Louisiana watched his street flood after a storm. Everyone else parked their cars and waited it out. But not him. He patted his truck, grinned, and said, "Built tough, baby! You got this!" He revved the engine and rolled right into the water like a hero in a commercial. Halfway through, the water hit his headlights. He gave it more gas. The truck started to float. Neighbors stood on their porches, phones out, yelling, "Turn back!" But nope. Captain Confidence here kept going until the truck drifted sideways and gently bumped into a tree. He crawled out the window, soaked, still insisting, "It's fine. It's waterproof." By the time insurance arrived, the only thing floating was his ego. The adjuster looked at the soggy mess and said, "Sir, your truck swam better than you did." Lesson learned. Trucks are tough, sure, but they still can't swim. And there you have it. 33 driving fails that prove the biggest danger on the road isn't speed. It's stupidity. Some of these people totaled their cars, others just totaled their pride. But hey, at least they gave the rest of us something to laugh about. So next time you're stuck in traffic, remember, somewhere out there, someone's trying to dry their car by driving fast or arguing with a shopping cart. If you laughed, learned, or just felt a little bit better about your own driving, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments which story made you yell "no way" the loudest, and if you ever feel like the dumbest driver on the road, don't worry. You're just one video away from realizing you're doing fine. Subscribe for more chaos and stay out of the left lane unless you actually mean it.